Think of it. We've spent $8 trillion in the Middle East, and we're not fixing our roads in this country. How stupid is it? And we're not fixing our highways, our tunnels, our bridges, our hospitals even, our schools even. It's crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy, Donald Trump from 2020, that we'd spend all that money in the Middle East without worrying about America first.
Well, I don't know why I came here tonight.
Crazy.
I got the feeling that something ain't right.
Who would do anything else?
I'm scared in case I fall off my chair. And I'm wondering how I'll get down the stairs. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
I am. From Pacifica Radio in Los Angeles, this is the BradCast, as heard on KPFK 90.7 FM in LA, 98.7 in Santa Barbara, 93.7 in San Diego, 99.5 FM in Ridgecrest and China Lake. Elsewhere in California, in Red Bluff and Redding on KFOI and Round Mountains KKRN. Up in Oregon on the Central Coast on KYAQ, Cottage Grove's KSO, Eugene's KEPW, Lancaster, Pennsylvania's W News, Maui, Hawaii's KAKU, in Columbus, Ohio on WGRN, Palinville, New York's WLPP, Rochester, New York's WRFZ, down in New Orleans on WHIV, out in Gallup, New Mexico on KNIZ, Concord, New Hampshire's WNHN, Fayetteville, Arkansas's KPSQ, in Seattle on KODX, Richmond, Virginia's WRWK, Fairmont, West Virginia's WEFR, Janesville, Wisconsin's WADR, and Minneapolis, St. Paul's AM 950 KTNF. We also stream coast to coast and around the globe every day on the internet, on the Progressive Voices channel, Netroots Radio, Radio for Humans, NicoleSandler.com, Radio Free Brooklyn, No Lies Radio, Detour Talk, Delmarva FM, and most of your favorite podcast sites blanketing planet Earth. I'm Brad Friedman, your friendly investigative blogger, journalist, troublemaker, muckraker, and all-around swell fellow, says me, from BradBlog.com. Thank you very much for joining us today. And right off the bat, write this down. Our phone number is and will be, when I get to the phones today, 818-985-5735. If you are in our live Southern California listening area or listening anywhere from around the globe via kpfk.org. And if you'd like to ring in over your public airwaves today, as always, I'd like to encourage Donald Trump supporters, or former Trump supporters maybe, or folks who abandoned Democrats because of their position on the war, to call in today and call in sooner rather than later, rather than at the very end of the show when I won't have time to talk to you, as we will be talking today about Donald Trump's Operation Epstein Fury. I'm sorry. Did I say Operation Epstein Fury? I meant what I meant was what the Trump administration is calling Operation Epic Fury. There you go. My mistake, sort of, Desi Doyen. I'm sorry about that.
Just a little slip of the tongue.
Yeah,
Operation
I don't know what I was.
Epstein Fury.
No,
is that what you...
it's Operation Epic Fury.
Epic. Not Epstein.
Got
it.
Very
okay.
confusing there, but
you.
Now, when you call in, and I hope that you will, hit button number 1 to join me on the air. But even better, using that same number, 818-985-5735, you can hit button number 2, because I am told that a fan of the BradCast has pledged $500 in a matching grant. That's from Rick of Seal Beach. Thank you, Rick. If we can manage to raise $500 from the rest of you during or just after today's BradCast. If you are listening on a whole other station other than our flagship Pacifica radio station, KPFK here in LA, please do consider supporting whichever station you may be listening to our show on, because all of them, and I am not kidding, all of these stations do need your support right now more than ever, as the threat to community, public, and really any radio outlets who do not toe the Trumpian corporate line are under very serious threat right now, being felt by all of us. So Let's stand together for those stations that allow the truth to be told over your public airwaves. Thank you in advance. That's 818-985-KPFK. And please let them know wherever you call, that you are a BradCast listener. That would help us a lot and help us meet the $500 challenge grant. You can also stop by kpfk.org, pick out from a huge array of thank you gifts in exchange for whatever you can afford today. Beyond that, let's start here today. In January of 2023, at the kickoff of the 2024 presidential election, the Wall Street Journal ran an op-ed in support of Donald Trump's recently announced candidacy at the time. Here was the headline, quote, "Trump's best foreign policy, not starting any wars." That from the Rupert Murdoch-owned Wall Street Journal. The sub-headline read, quote, "He has my support in 2024 because I know he won't recklessly send Americans to fight overseas." That Wall Street Journal opinion column was written at the time by an author named J.D. Vance, if I'm reading this correctly. He served at the time as a Republican U.S. Senator from Ohio before he would eventually be tapped to join the ticket of Donald Trump's 2024 campaign as his vice presidential running mate. But yeah, his best foreign policy, said Vance at the time, not starting any wars. And then there was this tweet in the run-up to the 2024 election. In fact, this was on November 1. This was just days before the November 5th election day that year. Quote, "To anyone still gullible enough to fall for scummy media hoaxes, Trump said warmongering neocons love sending your kids to die for wars they would never fight themselves. Liz Cheney is Kamala Harris's top advisor," the tweet continued. "Liz wants to invade the whole Middle East. Kamala equals World War III. Trump equals peace." That's nice, isn't it? That social media post just 4 days before the last presidential election day was from Donald Trump's White House advisor, White House Deputy Chief of Staff, and simultaneously our U.S. Homeland Security Advisor, Stephen Miller. Apparently gullible enough to fall for Trump's scummy hoaxes, or simply playing his role in them back in 2024 in order to get Donald Trump elected, since, Trump is apparently all in with the, quote, warmongering neocons who love sending your kids to die for wars that they would never fight themselves. Do let me know if Stephen Miller tenders his resignation at any point in response to having been gullible enough to fall for that scummy hoax by his boss. To, now Vice President J.D. Miller's chagrin, perhaps, though I doubt it, Donald Trump has, in fact, recklessly sent Americans to fight overseas, as he told America Trump would never do back in 2023 when J.D. was auditioning for the job that he now holds. Several of those Americans sent by Trump to fight overseas were, in fact, killed in action while doing so over this past weekend on the same day that Donald Trump told us we should expect more such casualties in the days ahead. Here's another thought worth hearing today. Quote, "This is insane. Regime change in Iran will result in a bloody civil war, killing hundreds of thousands and creating another massive Muslim refugee crisis. Toppling a leader is never as easy as you think. It almost always results in further involvement, a civil war, and chaos. Resist this." That was Charlie Kirk, one of Donald Trump's top campaign supporters, speaking just last summer, just a few months before his killing, in response to another of Donald Trump's top supporters and longtime warmongers, Lindsey Graham's call for regime change in Iran at the time. As Aidan McLaughlin at Vanity Fair observed over the weekend, Kirk's protest last summer reflected a sentiment pervasive among supporters of President Donald Trump, who campaigned on an end to foreign interventions that have cost the United States trillions of dollars and thousands of lives in this century alone. Of course, we told you at the time how Trump did not mean any of it, how his first term in office demonstrated that he was anything but a peacenik opposed to foreign interventionism and the use of force, at least for those of us paying attention, or perhaps those who, got their news from sources other than Fox News or one of their fellow right-wing propagandist outlets. Yes, folks should have known better, should have known that they were being lied to by J.D. Vance and by Stephen Miller and by Charlie Kirk and, of course, by the peace president himself, Donald Trump. Back in 2011, on Twitter at the time, Trump wrote, quote, "In order to get elected, Barack Obama will start a war with Iran," unquote, Trump warned. He followed it up with a video statement to that same end that same year.
"Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective."
Yeah, you know how those weak and ineffective people who have no ability to negotiate with Iran have to start wars with them. The next year, in 2012, Trump predicted again that Obama would, quote, "attack Iran in order to get elected," unquote, going on to note, quote, "Now that Obama's poll numbers are in a tailspin, watch him start a war with Iran. He is desperate." And in 2013, Donald Trump said that he expected an assault by Obama on Iran to, quote, "save face." That would be pretty scummy of Barack Obama, wouldn't it? Obama never attacked Iran. As it turned out, he made a deal with them instead to prevent them from being able to make a nuclear weapon, which Trump subsequently tore up. Trump, whose numbers are in a tailspin, who is weak and ineffective, who has no ability to negotiate, and who appears now to be desperate to change the subject from the allegations that he raped a 13-year-old girl that are currently being unlawfully covered up by his own Department of Justice from the Epstein files. Well, President Trump has now attacked Iran twice over the past 8 months. And both of those attacks were in violation of the law, both the U.S. law and international law, and indeed the U.S. Constitution. In this second attack over the weekend, he unlawfully targeted and murdered the country's supreme leader, 86-year-old Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, which, if lawful in Donald Trump's mind, I guess, means that Iran or any other country in the world may now legally assassinate our supreme leader, Donald Trump, I guess. The assassination of the elderly cleric who had led Iran for decades was trumpeted by the U.S. president, who announced in his remarks after the attack that Khamenei's death had given Iranians their, quote, "greatest chance to, quote, take back their country." The announcement came after a joint U.S. and Israeli aerial bombardment that targeted Iranian military and governmental sites. Trump said that, quote, "heavy and pinpoint bombing was to continue through the week or as long as necessary. By Monday afternoon, as long as necessary became, well, the next 4 or 5 weeks or as long as necessary," according to Trump. But all of these folks, Vance, Miller, Fox News, Donald Trump, they all have a way of spinning whatever the supposed peace president Donald Trump does into whatever they wish to pretend that he might have done or said or pretended to stand for. Because in the end, after all, Iran was just such an imminent threat that really Donald Trump had no choice but to attack them and should be given a peace prize for having done so. Apparently, as one commentator featured on Fox News explained on Saturday, just after Trump's second attack on Iran in 8 months was launched.
And if you look at what they say, and if you look at what their surrogate armies say, like Hamas, their goal is to massacre as many Israeli civilians as possible. There is not much difference between the Iranian regime and Adolf Hitler in terms of its goals and in terms of its ethno-nationalist, racist ideology. So what I think Donald Trump is doing is heroic. I think if this is successful, it will be something that could qualify him once again for a Nobel Peace Prize. And I think it's very, very long overdue.
It's heroic. It could qualify him for a Nobel Peace Prize for attacking Iran.
Oh, God.
On Saturday, what Donald Trump was doing was heroically, in fact, murdering, at least 175 people, most of them little girls, at a school in the southern Iran Minab province, according to AP. He wounded at least another 50 there alone who were simply attending school on Saturday morning. A weekday in Iran, 175 little girls killed at school. Somebody give that man a Nobel Peace Prize. More death and pain brought to Iran in the early hours of Donald Trump's unlawful, unauthorized, unilateral assault on Iran, where Iran's Red Crescent Society reports that now, at least as of last check, some 550 Iranians have so far been confirmed as killed in the U.S.-Israeli attacks. Videos verified by the New York Times show that the Gandhi Hospital and adjacent buildings in northern Tehran sustained significant damage after Israel, our partner in this war, carried out a heavy bombing campaign in the Iranian capital, Israel, with some experience bombing hospitals. Press TV, an Iranian state-run news outlet, reported that strikes had targeted the headquarters of the Iranian state broadcaster's Network 2 channel just across from the hospital, suggesting that the medical facility was perhaps damaged by the impact of those strikes. In the early retaliation by Iranian forces, U.S. facilities in Bahrain, Iraq, and the United Arab Emirates, plus 3 sites in Kuwait, were hit on Saturday and Sunday, according to varied reports. Several structures, including satellite communications equipment, were damaged or destroyed. On Saturday, Iran struck the headquarters of the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet in Manama, Bahrain, destroying several structures in that attack. The sites hit include a key naval headquarters, formal U.S. military camps, air bases hosting U.S. forces, and a naval recreation area. The extent of damage varies across locations, the New York Times reported in its comparison of before and after satellite photos. As we go to air now, the number has just been increased to 6 U.S. service members who have been so far confirmed killed in those counterattacks on bases in Kuwait, where 3 U.S. F-15s were also reportedly shot down, in that case by friendly fire in Kuwait. All 6 crew members, thankfully, were said to have ejected, and have survived those incidents. As the initial joint U.S. and Israeli attack got underway early on Sunday morning, local time, it was on Saturday morning, local time, it was clear to no one what either the reason or purpose of these attacks actually were. Do you have any idea? I don't. I got some guesses, though. But when it began, it was unclear what the purpose was and what the ultimate result was hoped to be moving forward. Though with the administration, specifically Trump's top negotiator in the region, his real estate developer friend Steve Witkoff, falsely claiming that Iran was about 1 week away from having the fissile material needed to create a nuclear weapon, there are literally no actual experts who believe that. But that's what Steve Witkoff said. Well, with all of that, it was a bit discordant then to read the page on the White House website of FIFA Peace Prize winner Donald Trump on Saturday, still up from last June. Even as the attack got underway on Saturday, headlined, quote, Iran's nuclear facilities have been obliterated and suggestions otherwise are fake news. That's at the White House website from last June. So which is it? They're a week away from having a nuclear weapon? Or their nuclear facilities have been completely and totally obliterated, as Trump has told us over the past year over and over and over, and that suggestions to the contrary are just fake news, as the White House is apparently still claiming today, at least on their website. In Trump's 8-minute pre-taped video statement posted to his failing social media site in the middle of the night on Saturday, just after he and Israel launched their new war on Iran, Trump insisted that the war had two related goals: to keep the American people safe and to ensure that Iran never acquires a nuclear weapon. Quote, "Our objective," Trump said, "is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime." Did you feel imminently threatened by Iran? By Iran? Hey, especially if you are a Trump supporter, please call in and tell me why you felt imminently threatened by Iran at 818-985-5735. Or if you were a Trump supporter but no longer are for some strange reason, you can also call in and tell me all about it. Tell me why at 818-985-5735. We put those Trump supporters and former Trump supporters up at the top of the list when they have the courage to call in. I promise I'll be nice. Several media outlets reported that the claims of Iran readying an imminent attack were in fact contradicted by members of the U.S. intelligence community and by members of Congress, such as longtime Senate Armed Services and Foreign Relations Committee's member Tim Kaine of Virginia, speaking, yes, on Fox News on Sunday, who confirmed there was no evidence of any sort of imminent threat to lawfully justify Trump's attacks on Iran.
Haven't we learned something from 25 years of war in the Middle East? Have we learned nothing? It looks like this president hasn't learned a thing, and the claims about we're going to change the regime, we're going to stop a nuclear program, there was some threat. All of the intelligence I've seen in 13 years on the Armed Services and Foreign Relations Committees tell me there was no imminent threat from Iran that justifies sending our sons and daughters into war.
But as to the supposed nuclear weapons or facilities or fissile material, of course, yes, we did have a working treaty with Iran, along with several of the world's other top nations, including China, France, Russia, UK, the entire European Union, as established during the Obama administration back in 2015. And it was working. Everyone agreed as much. That agreement mandated very strict 24/7 oversight and other protocols to prevent Iran from creating the fissile material, the enriched uranium, required to even begin building a nuclear weapon, which Iran has always said they were not interested in doing. A treaty that was working by, as I said, just about the agreement of everyone in the world, at least until Donald Trump violated that treaty. He broke that treaty. On behalf of the United States, he tore it up after taking office during his first term. In fact, Iran poses no imminent threat to the American people, and just days ago, Trump boasted once again in his State of the Union that he had, quote, obliterated Iran's nuclear program last June when American and Israeli fighter jets at the time bombed several nuclear energy-related facilities across Iran. Here was Trump at last Tuesday night's State of the Union, just about 3 days before he would unlawfully and unconstitutionally begin his newest war against Iran, as his approval ratings continued to plummet and revelations about allegations that he raped a 13-year-old girl were initially coming to light amid the release of the Epstein files.
Last June, the United States military obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program with an attack on Iranian soil known as Operation Midnight Hammer. For decades, it had been the policy of the United States never to allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. Many decades. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, and in particular, nuclear weapons. Yet they continue starting it all over. We wiped it out, and they want to start all over again. And are at this moment again pursuing their sinister ambitions.
Sounds like he got midnight hammered before giving that speech. In any event, so we obliterated their program 8 months ago. But says the President of the United States in the State of the Union. They want to start it all over again and are at this moment again pursuing their sinister ambitions. Pursuing an ambition to start all over again after being obliterated. Does that sound imminent to you? 818-985-5735. And that word is important because U.S. law does not allow a president to launch a unilateral war like that without authorization from Congress as per the Constitution, unless an attack on the U.S. is actually imminent. Clearly, none was. Trump, who cares nothing about either the rule of law nor the Constitution, he launched an attack anyway, yet again. Trump himself must have also been spreading fake news, and in fact was, when he claimed that Iran was planning to build intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs, that could soon reach the U.S. Several media sources have charged that that is also a claim not backed up by U.S. intelligence. AP, as outlined in its constitution, Iran on Sunday formed a council to assume leadership duties and govern the country, which is good to hear. Good to hear that at least somebody follows their own constitution. However, it's unclear who is available to sit on that council, much less lead the country following the murder of Khamenei. Iran's chief of army staff and defense minister were also killed in an airstrike targeting a meeting of the country's defense council. Iranian state television reported on Sunday, alongside the head of Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard and security advisor, whose deaths Iran previously announced on Sunday morning. By Sunday, Trump told ABC's Jonathan Karl that while the U.S. had identified possible candidates to take over Iran, maybe they were killed in the initial attack. Said Trump, according to Jonathan Karl, quote, "The attack was so successful, it knocked out most of the candidates. It's not going to be anybody that we were thinking of to lead the country," he said, "because they are all dead. Second and third place is dead," said Trump. Well planned, sir. Back here at home, if Trump thought that this might somehow improve his approval ratings in the run-up to this year's midterm elections, and amid the effort to force DOJ to release the interviews amid the Epstein files with a woman who says that she was raped by Donald Trump when she was just 13 years old, well, very early polling does not suggest any of this is going to help him. According to Reuters, only 1 in 4 Americans approve of U.S. strikes on Iran. 1 in 4, about 25%. These strikes that have plunged the Middle East into chaos as we begin this week, while about half, including 1 in 4 Republicans, believe that Trump is too willing to use military force, according to the new Reuters Ipsos poll. Just 27% of respondents said that they approved of the strikes, while 43% disapproved and 29% were not sure yet. The poll, which closed on Sunday, showed that 56% of Americans think peace President Trump, who has also ordered strikes in Venezuela and Syria and Nigeria in recent months, is too willing to use military force to advance U.S. interests. The vast majority of Democrats, 87%, hold that view, as did 23% of Republicans and 60% of independents, people who say they don't identify with either of the major political parties. While 55% of Republicans say they approved of the strike and just 13% disapproved, the Reuters Ipsos poll found 42% in Trump's party said that they would be less likely to support the Iran campaign if it leads to, quote, U.S. troops in the Middle East being killed or injured. As noted there, bad news. 6 U.S. service members already known to have been killed. And Trump has made a point several times of saying that there were likely to be more casualties in the days ahead. In the bargain, Trump's presidential approval rating in the poll ticked slightly lower to 39% since the group's last poll taken between the 18th and 23rd of February. Some 45% of poll respondents, including 34% of Republicans and 44% of independents, said they would be less likely to support the campaign against Iran if gas or oil prices increased in the U.S. Bad news there as well, apparently. On Sunday, prices for Brent crude surged 10% to about $80 a barrel in over-the-counter trading. Analysts predicted prices could climb as high as $100 a barrel due to the latest conflict. 818-985-5735 is our number. I got a lot more that I could talk about here, but let's hear from you. 818-985-KPFK. I will say this, quote, I can tell you you're not going to have a war with me. That's what Donald Trump told a rally crowd in 2024. Did you believe him? The about face has put high-profile members of his own administration in a very awkward position now. How does Tulsi Gabbard, who once literally sold T-shirts exclaiming, "No war with Iran," how does she explain this attack? How about Bobby Kennedy Jr., who, when he endorsed Trump, said that he wants, quote, to end the grip of the neocons on U.S. foreign policy. How'd that work out for you, Bobby? Or J.D. Vance, who, yes, published that op-ed in the Wall Street Journal back in 2023 declaring Trump's best foreign policy, not starting any wars, and told an interviewer in 2024 that Kamala Harris was, quote, sleepwalking us into war with Iran. Who's sleepwalking now, JD? Said the great historian, essayist, and Middle East and foreign policy expert Juan Cole of the University of Michigan over on Instagram on Sunday, quote, if Trump really wants to destroy Iran, he should go be its president. So your thoughts on all of this today over your public airwaves at 818-985-5735. Hit button number 1 to join us on the air. Button number 2 to help support keeping the BradCast available over this station, 818-985-KPFK. What is this new war on Iran about for Donald Trump? What do you think? It wasn't to stop an imminent attack on U.S. by Iran. It wasn't to block their nuclear ambitions because, well, if they had any, Trump obliterated that already last year, right? It couldn't be regime change because Trump said for years he warned his supporters that regime change people were stupid and a waste of both blood and treasure. So what could it be? A distraction from his terrible poll numbers in advance of the first midterm primary election day this week on Tuesday in Texas and North Carolina and Arkansas? Or is Operation Epic Fury really, as I snarked at the top about Operation Epstein Fury? 818-985-5735. I'm Brad Friedman, and you are listening to the BradCast.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. We reported yesterday on a recent election denier summit where a proposed presidential executive order declaring a national emergency was pushed. Its intent is to exert federal control over the midterm election. One such draft, obtained by Democracy Docket, would invoke the National Emergencies Act and other statutes citing election interference from a foreign power, let's say Iran, as a pretext. It states, quote, there is now clear and compelling evidence from court cases and forensic analysis that these threats have not been mitigated but instead have intensified, unquote. It goes on to cite debunked 2020 conspiracy theories involving ballot tabulators compromised by foreign actors and fraudulent voting by domestic accomplices. The 17-page proposal would implement a host of federal election rules, requiring nationwide voter ID and proof of citizenship and ending universal mail-in ballots. Its proposed ballot processing rules would supersede state election law, including ending use of voting machines and requiring only hand counting of ballots. Even in an emergency, constitutional scholars agree that the Elections Clause of the U.S. Constitution gives states the responsibility for conducting elections, and the president has no role. President Trump told PBS Friday he would not declare such an emergency. We've linked to Democracy Docket's copy of the proposed order at AmericanDemocracyMinute.org.
Hi, this is Desi Doyen from the Green News Report and the BradCast. What the public hears on the public airwaves matters. At the BradCast, we do our best to bring you accurate news and analysis on the issues that actually matter, and we do it all independently, without corporate or political influence. But we can't do it without you, now more than ever. Please help us stay on your public airwaves by going to bradblog.com/donate to help keep us going. That's bradblog.com/donate. And thanks.
The word is about, there's something evolving. Whatever may come, the world keeps revolving. They say the next big thing is here, that the revolution's near. But to me it seems quite clear that it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
Yeah, that is kind of what it sounds like, isn't it? Welcome back to the BradCast. Brad Friedman from BradBlog.com taking your calls on whatever the hell is now going on once again in Iran with hypocrite Donald Trump, the pretend peace president, attacking that nation, taking out its supreme leader, and doing so without any authorization from Congress, completely unlawfully under both U.S. and international rule. 818-985-5735. Let's get to some of your calls today. Lewis in Burbank. Hey, Lewis. Welcome to the BradCast, sir.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. Let's just say I'm fine.
Okay.
What's on your mind, sir?
Well, I agree with everything you're saying. The hypocrisy is stunning. And, the rationale could be the Epstein files. The rationale could be the midterms. But I would like you to consider, if you let me flesh this out, it may be a good thing that we're doing this in Iran for these reasons. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Well, World War II, 2,000 soldiers were killed in Pearl Harbor. Fast forward to 9/11, 3,000 civilians were killed in downtown New York. Okay, we launched a war on terror, but it was very, very poorly, executed. And what's a war on terror without including Iran? They're the most terror nation you can imagine.
Well, let me jump in here, Lewis. For one thing, we did include Iran. We actually made a deal with them that all the great powers of the world signed on to as well. Everyone said it was working, and Donald Trump came in and tore it up. So if he's trying to fight some sort of war on terror, he's got a funny way of showing it, Lewis.
That's a very good point. We should not have torn up that deal.
At the same time,
here we are. We are.
Yeah, go ahead.
But what I'm saying is that what Bush ought to have done is gone to Congress, say, I want to declare war on this whole corridor of terror. Start in Afghanistan and march to the Mediterranean Sea and topple Iran, get rid of Saddam, get rid of the Assads. Most of that has been accomplished. So Iran is the only domino standing in the war on terror, and this would be
So Lewis, and
completing the war on terror.
Completing the war on terror. Great. If that's your plan, if that's what you want to do, by the way, I would be against it, but it doesn't matter. But if that's what you want to do, there is a lawful way to do it, at least under U.S. law and under the U.S. Constitution, which is go to Congress and make that case. And by the way,
I completely agree.
It wouldn't hurt to make that case to the American people either when you're, sending our kids off to die in wars for reasons that have not been, Donald Trump has not even come out and said we're here to complete the war on terror, the one that we made worse by tearing up the contract.
I'm giving him this talking point.
You're giving a lot of benefit of the doubt to a guy who is breaking the law and killing American citizens. And that's fine, but I can't go along with you, Lewis, there. It sounds like a lot of excuse-making for a criminal, frankly.
Well, no, I agree with everything you're saying about him. And you know, I just think that a byproduct of this, you know, unintentional byproduct of this might be a good thing because we would complete the war on terror. And, you know, after 30,000 protesters were mowed down in Tehran recently, like in the last few weeks, I mean, these voices from these people cried out to heaven, and the Ayatollah is dead. I'm seeing some cosmic justice here.
Well, that's a very interesting way you have to look at, you know, things like war crimes, because we have now killed about 500 people, including 100, and I think last I saw 175 little girls going to school in Iran. So if that's cosmic justice, not the kind of cosmic justice I'm
but okay, but
supporting.
I think you should make a distinction there. I mean, if Trump actually said, let's bomb this school, yeah, that's a war crime. I mean, but, you know, it had to have been an accident, you know?
Okay. Sure. And if we get attacked at any time and we accidentally lose, you know, 500 children or whatever it is when they're aiming for Donald Trump and they hit a school instead, I'm sure we'll all say, well, you know, it was an accident. They were just getting rid of our supreme leader the way we got rid of theirs. So how can we blame them?
Okay, well,
it's a lot of excuse making, Louis. How about we call for the rule of law? How about we call for? Donald Trump said he was in favor of peace. He said that only a dumb president would go to war instead of making a deal. Only an incompetent.
Oh, I agree with you. He's a complete hypocrite. So
I'll tell you what. Let's not make excuses for him. Let's call him out. Let's call for his impeachment, which would be meaningless, but let's call for it anyway because he violated the law. He violated the Constitution. He's committed high crimes and misdemeanors. How about we do what is right rather than make excuses for somebody who knows that they are doing wrong and who, Lewis, you even seem to agree he is doing wrong.
No, I agree, and I'm not making excuses for him. I'm just saying a byproduct of this might be a good thing.
All right.
Because it might complete the war on terror.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you have a regime that will mow down 30,000 of their own people, I mean, I find that completely outrageous. Where were the protesters in this country that were protesting for Hamas? You know, where were they when that was happening?
They were not protesting for Hamas.
Well, on behalf of Hamas.
No, they weren't protesting on behalf of Hamas, Lewis. You watch a lot of Fox News or something?
No. I just, I was in Burbank. I'm from Burbank, and
who'd you vote
there
for?
were some protesters.
Hey, Lewis, who'd you vote for? Hey, Lewis, who'd you vote for over the last three? Who'd you vote for over the last three elections?
I've never voted Republican.
Okay. Just curious, Lewis. I got to move on. I do appreciate the call, and thanks for allowing me to push back a little bit at you there.
Absolutely.
I hear you, but,
thank you for listening.
You bet. Thank you, sir. 818-985-KPFK. Let me go to James in Venice. Hey, James, welcome to the BradCast.
Thank you, Brad. I haven't worked out all the details yet. But if Trump is going for the title of Prince of Peace, he has a lot in common with the rulers in Iran, and maybe we could send over the ICE thugs to help the Iranians wipe out their protesters instead of U.S. citizens.
Well, there you go. Yeah, their ICE is getting better and better at it. Or maybe you could send them over there for training because apparently the Ayatollah knows how to kill their own citizens, and we're just apparently doing it too slowly. I mean, you know, he's only got a few more years in office, Donald Trump. We got to pick up this pace of apparently killing U.S. citizens for what? I have no idea why he's doing that any more than I have an idea why he invaded Iran. But you make a good point, James. Yeah.
How many people are buying this crap that he's all for us against them? I mean, isn't it past the point of being ridiculous?
You mean America First, you mean?
That's the one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's beyond the point of being ridiculous. Problem is, it was beyond the point of being ridiculous in the first term. It was beyond the point of being ridiculous in the 4 years in the interim when I was going on the air and hearing from callers, and the Trump supporters were a lot more interested in calling me back then than they are now. But when they would call in and I would have to challenge them when they would tell me how peaceful he was and how much he's against foreign wars, and I had to point out how many, drones and bombs he dropped and how he blew away both Biden and Obama when it came to the use of these weapons, and yet these yutzes were still out there saying, "Oh, he's the peace president. He deserves the Nobel Prize." Goodness gracious.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, James. Good to hear from you, brother. 818-985-KPFK. Hit button number 1, or be an awesome person and hit button number 2 to help us raise some money at this station and keep telling the truth to you years in advance. Only to say, I told you so over and over and over again. Oh, well, I guess that's what we are stuck with doing. Let me go to Dave in Venice. Again, where are all my ladies at? Dave in Venice, welcome to the BradCast, sir. Oh, Dave, are you there? Dave. All right, we'll try to come back to you, Dave. We tried. 818-985, there we go, 818-985-KPFK. There's our old friend Roger checking in from Minneapolis. Hey, Roger. Did I just knock you off, Roger? Oh, that was Des.
I'm sorry, that was me. Roger, please call back. Sorry about that.
Boy, I am so firing you again today, Des. 818-985-KPFK. Let me go to Al in Huntington Beach. Hey, Al. Welcome to the BradCast, sir.
Hey, Brad. How's it going?
It's going okay. Be careful I don't hang up on you accidentally. Go ahead.
I know it. I got to get it out quick.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. Agent Orange has given us a golden opportunity, man. You know, I mean, he's already crashed our economy. He's going to crash the world's economy by closing the Straits of Hormuz. I mean, and now we can do our FDR moment, and we can elect AOC and get Mark Kelly elected. You know, AOC is president. She's 36, and minimum is 35.
Okay.
And we can tax the mafia 90%.
Okay.
And corporations is 60%. Universal health care. You know, FDR's second Bill of Rights, and we can raise the minimum wage to 25%. That's $25.
All right.
Overturn Citizens United.
All right.
And a constitutional amendment to get outlaw campaign contributions.
Now, all of that sounds really, really good to me, Al. And you know I'm in favor. Well, I don't know if you know, but I'm in favor of pretty much all of those things that you just listed there. That won't be possible, of course, until who's that? Is that you? Is Al still there? Oh, you're there. Okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
We're just screwing up the phones is all we're doing there. Okay, now you're there, right?
Right.
Okay, perfect. So I'm in favor of all of those things, but none of that can be done until we get to the 2028 election. We've still got a 2026 election to get through that begins on Tuesday in Texas, North Carolina, and Arkansas, and it's going to go on for the whole year. And then eventually we get to 2028. Now, what if, let's say, and you're going to need Democratic control of all three of the House, the Senate, and the White House to even, think about doing those things you just mentioned. What happens if we get to 2028 and AOC decides not to run, or AOC loses to a Democrat in the primary who you find to be less progressive? Are we going to start the cycle all over again where we turn around and vote for J.D. Vance, a Donald Trump-like character, because the Democrats didn't put up someone who was progressive enough?
Well, once all the body bags starts rolling home, I think all the ideas are going to shift because they're running out of ammunition. All these rockets, it takes them like 3 to 5 or 10 Patriot missiles to shoot down one of these hypersonic missiles.
Yeah.
And they only have so many of these.
But you didn't answer my question, Al. If you want to put a stop to what these people are right now doing, and you want to do even half of that list of admirable points that you raised, are you willing to vote against the people who are blocking all of those things in hopes of getting some Democrats in there who might at least do some of them, even if they are not quite as progressive as you and I might otherwise want.
Well, if some of it gets done, I'm in favor of that. We're not going to get it all in one bite.
Right.
How do you eat an elephant?
There you go. Well, I don't know, but we'll try to figure it out between now and 2028.
One bite at a time.
There you go. Thank you, Al. I appreciate
Right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I appreciate that call. 818-985-KPFK. Let me go to Nick in West LA. Hey, Nick. Welcome to the BradCast.
Well, hi. Good afternoon. So that seems like the only immediate benefits of this is the state of Israel. I mean, they got some immediate benefits, as the Ayatollah who's been saying death to Israel for the whole time, and even before. So they got that benefit. So we're acting as a proxy for Israel.
Well, I think that's a fair enough statement to some respect, although I will note that Israel is now under attack themselves. Israel is never going to see peace until they get rid of Netanyahu and start working with these people rather than bombing these people and killing these people and expanding what they're doing. And at the same time, I will also add, both the UAE and Saudi Arabia have given billions of dollars to Donald Trump and his family and his crypto coin interests. And Qatar has given Donald Trump a golden 747 to use as Air Force One. And those countries, those Arab countries, along with Israel, would also like to see Iran knocked down a peg. So it is not Israel only. It is a lot of other interests in the U.S. who have purchased the services of the United States government and the U.S. military, it seems to me. 818-985-KPFK's Roger is back. Let's go to Roger up in Minneapolis. Hey, Roger, nothing personal, but I'm delighted to not have to talk about Minneapolis today, although that delightment sort of stops pretty quickly thereafter. How are you, brother?
Well, I'm rather emotional, Brad, and here's why. When I was a little boy, when I was 5 years old, we began bombing the so-called Viet Cong in 1963 in South Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And all my life, the United States has been exercising military muscle over the world and murdering millions of people. I don't think that this particular exercise is going to be done before millions die. And I must emphasize that we cultivate loving relationships with those who we know during our precious time here, and not be too discouraged by the horrors that we currently face. I'm brokenhearted about this current situation, mm-hmm. and it is unfortunately deflecting a lot of attention away from the loss of our own civil liberties in this country, such as they ever were. This is it's a schlamassel, okay? It's a fine mess, my friend.
Yes, it is.
And it is up to us to exercise our love for each other the best we can in the face of this terror.
We love your calls to this program, Roger. We love you. Your sentiments are all well shared, well told. And no, we are not going to forget about the fight for civil liberties. That fight will continue. They would like to distract us from all of that. It ain't going to work, Roger. Let me grab a couple of calls before I'm at the top of the hour, but good to hear from you, my friend.
Thank you.
And I feel you.
Yeah, good to hear you, too.
All right, thank you, brother. Let me go to, very quickly, I'm going to have to run through these real quick. Tony in Ventura. Hey, Tony, welcome to the BradCast, sir.
Hey, thanks, Brad. Thanks for taking my call. Okay, real quickly, the whole notion of what people strategizing or what we should do, invading sovereign nations, is just ridiculous. I recommend people read Whitney Webb's book, the blackmailing of America, what led, the connection between Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, Meyer Lansky, and the whole cabal that is the way that the United States is run. Everyone needs to look at all this information. Donald Trump is not the person that's pulling the strings, obviously, right?
No, I'm not so sure it's obvious, but I'll let your point stand as is. Thanks, Tony. I hear you. 818. Oh, I don't even
read the book.
All right. Thanks,
read
man.
Read the book, please.
Thanks, brother. That's Whitney Webb's book. Also, let me go to, do I have time? I'm going to try to fit in as many as we can here very quickly. Dave in Venice. Hey, Dave, you got about 30 seconds, brother.
Okay, Brad, I just wanted to remind everybody that not only were the 170 schoolgirls killed, but so was the daughter and the granddaughter of the Ayatollah was killed. So I just wanted to mention that in the strike on him.
So
I want to remind everybody that No Kings is coming up at the end of the month. That'll be March 28th. Is that right? Yes, March 28th. So please come out and vent your frustrations there.
No Kings, the next No Kings rally, March 28th. I think you can go to nokings.org and get information where there is a rally near you.
That's right. Go to No Kings, and you'll see the map, and you'll be able to find out where it's at.
Thank you, brother. I got to get out. By the way, I will also note that since he mentioned that the Ayatollah's family was killed, so not just the supreme leader was targeted and killed by the U.S., which I said I guess that means any foreign nation can target our supreme leader, but apparently also target their family as well. Go figure. Do I have time really quick for Mo? Yes, I'm getting a thumbs up from Mo. Hey, Mo. Hey, brother. Always good to hear from you. I'll give you 15 seconds. What you got for us?
I love you, Brad, and don't worry, America, all future wars will be decided in Israel. I don't think they're worth it, but that's what's going on. This invasion with Iran has been planned for 30 years, Bradley. Okay, see you next week, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. Good to hear from you. I'm not sure if that's good news or bad news. In any event, it's news that I got to get out. So thanks to all the callers, including those who I could not get to today. My apologies. We will, I suspect, try again next week. Thanks as well to my board operator today, Gary Baca, to our producer, Desi Doyen, and to all of you for spending a portion of your day or night with us. If you missed any portion of today's show, you can download it anytime for free at bradblog.com. Drop me an email. I am bradcast@bradblog.com. Always good to hear from you. And you can find me on the social medias, especially Blue Sky, at The Brad Blog. We will see you there. Until we see you here next time, hopefully tomorrow, I'm Brad Friedman. Good luck, world.
Listening to the BradCast. We are 100% listener supported, thanks to listeners like you who drop by bradblog.com/donate.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1990. That was the day 9,300 workers walked out at Greyhound bus lines. The 1980s devastated Greyhound workers. First, the industry had been rocked by President Carter's deregulation of the transportation industry. Then, a bitter 1983 strike ended in defeat for the workers. Concessionary contracts, deep wage cuts, and a two-tier wage system were firmly established by the time contract negotiations started in early 1990. The Amalgamated Transit Union negotiated terms closer to what was lost over the past decade. But the new owners at Greyhound would have none of it. They claimed $300 million in debt. The ATU insisted the company had been turning a handsome profit. Pickets went up at depots and garages around the country, while hundreds of scab drivers were hired. With a week's worth of training, they were soon operating 10-ton buses unsafely. Riders complained of replacement drivers falling asleep at the wheel. The strike soon turned violent and deadly. There were reports of sniper fire and bomb threats. Many charged that these were fake stories meant to spike public support for the strike. Early on, 59-year-old Robert Waterhouse was run down by a scab driver while on the picket line in Redding, California. Waterhouse had 30 years as a driver with the company and had planned his retirement for that summer when he was killed. ATU reported many more picket line injuries. Within a month, the company was operating with 2,400 replacement drivers. The company filed for bankruptcy in June. After 3 years, they would finally agree to $22 million in back pay, reinstate hundreds of drivers, and raise wages. But the number of drivers was cut in half. It would take the ATU years to rebuild its strength.